The Western genre that once ruled Hollywood, like Clint Eastwood strolling into a saloon, chewing on a cigarillo and squinting menacingly at everyone in sight. In the mid-20th century, the Western was the genre. It was the Marvel Cinematic Universe of its time. John Wayne, Sergio Leone, John Ford. These names carried the same weight as today's biggest blockbuster directors. But in the 21st century, Westerns have become as rare as an honest man in a frontier town. So, is the Western genre dead? Well, it depends on how you define dead. Is it 6 feet under in boot heel, or is it just limping along like another old gunslinger who took just one too many bullets? Well, let's saddle up and find out. Once upon a time, Westerns were the bread and butter of Hollywood. In the 1950s and 1960s, they dominated the box office with stars like John Wayne and Clint Eastwood, defining the image of the rugged lone gunslinger. These movies were relatable, profitable, and relatively easy to make. Just grab some desert scenery, put a guy in a cowboy hat, and add a showdown at high noon. Studios churned out dozens of westerns every year, and audiences couldn't get enough of the frontier justice, dusty saloons, and good old-fashioned horse chases. But as the decades passed, tastes changed. By the 1970s, the classic good versus evil narrative started feeling outdated. The Vietnam War had left America disillusioned, and moviegoers wanted something a little bit more complex. Enter the revisionist Western. Films like The Wild Bunch in 1969, McCabe and Mrs. Miller in 1971, and Unforgiven in 1992 deconstructed the romanticized myth of the West. These weren't movies about noble lawmen riding into town to save the day. They were about morally gray characters trying to survive in a brutal, lawless world. The violence became more graphic, the heroes became anti-heroes, and the simple black and white morality of the past was replaced with the dark shades of gray. And then came the 1980s and the 1990s when action movies took over. The cowboy was replaced by the muscle-bound hero with a machine gun. Instead of tense duels and revolvers, we got Die Hard in 1988 and Terminator 2 in 1991. Where the solution to any problem was a hail of bullets and a catchy one-liner. Box office trends reflected this shift. While westerns like Dances with Wolves in 1990 and Tombstone in 1993 found success, they were the exception, not the rule. By the late 90s, studios realized audiences preferred explosions over tumbleweeds, and the western started to fade into the background. Just because westerns aren't dominating the box office anymore doesn't mean they've ridden off into the sunset. Instead of the classic straightforward shoot-'em-up of the golden age, modern filmmakers have found new ways to reinvent the genre, often blending it with other styles or updating its themes to reflect contemporary issues. Take No Country for Old Men in 2007, for example. It's essentially a western without the cowboys, set in a modern landscape where violence is sudden, justice is uncertain, and the moral compass is all but broken. The Coen brothers stripped the genre down to its existential bones, proving that the Western's core themes, lawlessness, fate, and the fragility of civilization, are actually timeless. Then there's True Grit in 2010, also from the Coens, a remake of the 1969 John Wayne classic that managed to honor the original while delivering a darker, more character-driven take. It grossed over $252 million worldwide, making it one of the highest grossing westerns of all time, and proving that, when done right, the genre still has an audience. Meanwhile, The Revenant in 2015, though more of a survival epic, carried strong Western DNA with its raw frontier setting, themes of vengeance, and breathtaking cinematography that made the wilderness itself feel like an untamed, lawless antagonist. Television has also played a huge role in keeping the Western spirit alive. Westworld, that aired between 2016 and 2022, reimagined the genre through the sci-fi lens, blending cowboy mythology with AI-driven existential existential dread. Meanwhile, the TV show Yellowstone and its spin-offs took the cowboy aesthetic and repackaged it into a modern-day crime drama, essentially The Godfather on horseback, with Kevin Costner as the ruthless patriarch of a Montana ranching empire. The show has become a cultural phenomenon, spawning those spin-offs that I talked about and proving that audiences still crave stories about power, legacy, and the untamed frontier, even if that frontier now has pickup trucks and real estate deals. Now, what these films and shows prove is that the Western isn't dead. It just evolves. It no longer follows the same predictable formula of black hats versus white hats. Instead, it's being reinterpreted in ways that feel fresh, relevant, and often genre bleeding. As long as there are stories to tell about the rugged landscapes, moral ambiguity, and the struggle between civilization and chaos, the Western will always have a place on our screens. It just might not always look like the Westerns of old. If there's one thing we can say about the Western in the 21st century is that it refuses to die. It just shapeshifts into something else. The rise of the neo-Western shows how filmmakers are keeping the genre alive by blending it with modern storytelling and themes. Films like Hell or High Water in 2016 take the classic Western premise of outlaws on the run, but set it against the backdrop of economic despair in present-day Texas. Logan in 2017 is a superhero movie, sure, but at its core, it's Shane with Wolverine instead of Alan Ladd. Even video games have embraced the Western aesthetic. Red Dead Redemption Part 2 in 2018 gave players an open-world Western experience so immersive that some people spend more time fishing in the game than actually completing missions. Can you believe that? It captured the spirit of the classic Western while giving players the freedom to carve out their own frontier story. So, where does that leave us? Will Westerns ever return to their former glory, dominating the box office like they did in the mid-20th century? Honestly, probably not. I mean, the era of John Wayne swaggering across the big screen or Sergio Leone redefining cinematic style with wide landscapes and tight close-ups is long gone. Much like the Old West itself, the traditional Western has become a relic of the past. But that doesn't mean the genre itself is dead. It has simply become more of a niche market, popping up when a filmmaker with a unique vision finds a way to make it feel fresh again. Take Logan in 2017, for instance. On the surface, it's a superhero movie, but at its heart, it's a classic Western about a weary gunslinger, or in this case, a clawed mutant, facing one last fight before riding off into the sunset. The film borrowed heavily from 1953's Shane, even directly referencing it, and audiences responded. Logan grossed over $600 million worldwide and was the first superhero movie to be nominated for an Academy Award for Best Adapted Screenplay. Or consider The Harder They Fall in 2021, which took the classic Western and infused it with an all-black cast and a vibrant modern energy. While based on real historical figures like Nat Love and Stagecoach Mary, the film played fast and loose with history, focusing instead on delivering a stylish, action-packed tale of revenge that felt fresh and exciting. It proved that there's still room for innovation within the genre, when filmmakers aren't afraid to take risks. Streaming platforms have also become a haven for Western storytelling. Shows like 1883 and 1923, prequels to Yellowstone, have continued to find an audience, proving that viewers still crave stories about survival, frontier justice, and a battle between progress and tradition. Netflix Godless, which I saw, very gruesome one, in 2017, a limited series about a town run entirely by women after a mining accident kills off most of the men, took familiar Western tropes and flipped them on their head. Meanwhile, indie films like Old Henry in 2021, a stripped-down, character-driven Western, have shown that even on a small budget, the genre can still pack a punch if it's done right. We may never see another The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, but as long as there is a desire for the stories about outlaws, lawmen, revenge, and redemption, the Western will never truly fade away. It'll just keep evolving, like a grizzled old gunslinger who who refuses to hang up his spurs, adapting to a changing world and never straying too far away from the dusty trails that made him legendary. So, what's your best Western movie ever? Do you agree with my assessments? Let me know in the comments. And also, please, if you like what you just saw, do like, share, and subscribe to Muveematic. Till next time, go watch a great Western movie. Peace.